Hi, this is Nick Elward. I work at Natixis Investment Managers, and I'm pleased to be with you today to talk about innovation in investment management and a startup mindset. All right, next slide. So slide number 2, an example of innovation investment management. This phrase really says it all to me. Startup mindset can bring success across all business types and all business sizes. That entrepreneurial mindset that someone has at a startup, as well as the entrepreneurial mindset that someone needs at a large company, is crucial for any innovation and long-term success in a business. Someone needs to be a self-starter. They should be extremely motivated and passionate about what they do. Moving an innovation from an idea to reality takes a person who is a risk taker with this startup mindset. And we'll get into all of this in great detail as we go through this 20-minute discussion. All right, moving to the next slide, slide number 3. These are the areas that we'll cover in this short discussion. I'll provide a brief introduction of myself and my company. I'll talk about the innovation that I worked on in the investment space, which was specifically within the exchange-traded fund area, otherwise known as ETFs. ETFs are similar to a mutual fund, but they trade intraday throughout the day, and they also tend to be more tax efficient than most mutual funds. Number 3, we'll review the startup mindset. We'll get into the ideation process. I'll talk about the criticality of peer collaboration, and then I'll speak about the importance of being laser focused on achieving the goal. All right, looking at the next slide, slide number 4, the introduction. We'll move right through that to slide number 5 and speak about the two introductions I want to make. One being me. So this is my bio. Again, Nicholas J. Elward, go by Nick for short. I have 25 plus years working in asset management. 20 of those years have been focused on creating new products and being in the innovation areas within asset management. Besides working within Natixis Investment Managers and leading up the institutional product and the ETF business, outside of work, I also teach MBA courses with a focus on the product area, the sales area, and the marketing area. And lastly, I really enjoy studying the cryptocurrency market. You're probably familiar with the Bitcoin trend that you've seen within the investment area, and I like to follow that quite closely. All right, that's me. Now moving to the next slide, slide number 6, Natixis Investment Managers being a global affiliate network. This is where I work. And we are one of the top 20 asset management firms in the world by assets. We manage over $1 trillion under management, USD. We cover all asset classes. As you can see from this slide, whether it be specialized fixed income or distinctive equities, we really have it covered. And the way that we have it covered is something that's very unique to Natixis. Only a few firms do this throughout the world. And that is that we employ a multi-affiliate model where we buy expert asset management companies and we bring them into our holding company. And then with those expert asset management companies aboard, we're able to offer outstanding product choices to our investors from experts in discrete investment areas. The thing that I really like about Natixis is the entrepreneurial culture that we have. I believe I have the entrepreneurial mindset, and I really think that Natixis, as it's set up with the affiliates, all doing something that's typically pretty unique to their own firm, and being rather small firms, they have that same entrepreneurial culture. All right, next slide if we could. Slide number 7, the recent innovation in ETFs. I'll get into this specific example that I've worked on. And certainly the example hopefully will be helpful to you within asset management, but really it's the story that we tell after the example where we talk about what it took to get there that hopefully will help you with your own startup and your own business endeavors. So let's move to the next slide, slide number 8, Natixis Investment Managers and the ETF idea. So firstly, a little background on what exchange-traded funds are. I know I mentioned that they're similar to mutual funds. Really, the key difference is just what I mentioned, which is they tend to be more tax efficient and they trade throughout the day. So as an example, if the investor wants to get out of the market at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, with an ETF, he or she can do that by selling. With mutual funds, one has to hold that mutual fund until the end of the day, 4 p.m. Eastern time, at which time that product could be sold. The exchange traded fund market in the US is about $4.5 trillion in size. The mutual fund market is about 13 trillion in size, both data points as of the end of 2000. And the innovation that I worked on within the ETF space is one that would allow more of those assets that are in the mutual fund space to go into the ETF space to afford investors greater tax efficiency and ease of trading. Okay, so again, as I mentioned before, it's a little bit less about the specific example of the ETF example and more about the process to get to this innovation. But on the slide, I'll quickly call out a few key points here. So Natixis's ETF business is focused on actively managed ETFs. We first launched our active ETFs in 2016, and at that time, only active transparent ETFs were permissible by the Securities Exchange Commission, the SEC. This meant that we had to reveal our holdings each day, which some portfolio managers were reluctant to do because revealing their holdings each day would give predatory traders and others information that might allow them to try to trade ahead of us if we were to be building our position over a few days. So that wasn't ideal. For some portfolio management teams, they're okay with that because they can build and redeem a position in a single day. But for other active portfolio managers that may take a few days to build or redeem a position because of the size of the portfolios they run, it didn't allow them to enter the ETF market. So we had a problem to solve, and that was to try to figure out a way to get many of these $14 trillion of mutual fund assets in their portfolio managers comfortable running an ETF. So we researched from 2017 until 2000 ways to do that. And we worked with the New York Stock Exchange, the NYSE, to come up with a system that would do that. Together, we went to the SEC, requested permission to not disclose our holdings every day to solve for this problem. And we used some other tactics and provided different information that allowed the SEC to get comfortable with that and would allow other market participants to get comfortable. The bottom line is that we received approval to launch these special active semi-transparent ETFs in early 2000. And then after doing the work to get to market in September of 2020, we were able to launch that to market. Okay, let's go on to the next slide here. Okay, slide number 9, the startup mindset. So again, I mentioned the ETF innovation that I worked on. It was really fulfilling to me, but it's really what it took to get there that I think could be helpful to all of you as you think about your own businesses. So the startup mindset, this is clearly all about having the desire to do something new, to be a risk taker. As I think about the mindset and the business owner, especially of smaller businesses, but it doesn't have to just be smaller businesses. Me working in product research, product innovation, I need to consistently be raising new ideas, and I'm sure that all those in the startup world are consistently doing the same thing within their own businesses, and they're innovating. But once you have that idea, it's not enough. You need to be willing to lead teams, push the idea through the development process. And I almost liken it to an athlete, where that startup mindset is like having an athlete on your team who will do everything in his or her power to win. And that's the kind of attitude that I think someone needs to have when launching a business or just maintaining that startup mindset throughout their career in big or small businesses. All right, let's roll on to slide number 10, the ideation process. And certainly different people have different approaches as to how ideation works best. For me, I'll tell you how I think about that. And then obviously hopefully you can take some of these points and make them your own and adjust accordingly. But for me, besides starting off doing my own research and thinking about what customer problem I'm solving, I need to talk to customers immediately. The customers are those that ultimately are making decisions on whether or not my products will be appealing to the market, and I need to get that feedback right away. Beyond talking with customers, I definitely need to have conversations with industry peers and experts. And those industry peers and experts, certainly I'd be careful not to share information that would compromise my ability to be first to market with my idea. But generally speaking, one can get some good information about structure and about product needs that could be helpful long term. And once forming the beginning of that idea, then it's a lot of trial and error to ensure that that idea itself is one that has staying power and can succeed. And certainly that takes me back to having conversations with customers and with peers, carefully with peers, when I go through that R&D process and that market testing. At that point, I like to begin to slowly getting my executive team comfortable with the idea, aware of it, and bring them along slowly to the point where eventually I'll talk to them and ask for their permission to move ahead. Next, if it requires outside partners to be brought in, this is the point when I begin working with outside partners. And these outside partners could be business contacts. They could be actual co-producers of a given product. And if nothing else, their expertise along the way is crucial. And then finally, I would go back to my executive team, now with all the ideation completed, all the testing completed, having everything very solid in the business plan, and I would pitch that business plan with passion. All right, moving on to the next slide, slide number 11. Let's talk about peer collaboration. So I'm going to go back to my example a little bit just to bring this to light more with an actual example. So for me, I worked with the New York Stock Exchange, as I mentioned. We interviewed several different partners who potentially could have been part of our consortium as we launched this new active semi-transparent ETF business. I worked with them hand in hand, and it was really important to work with them when we spoke with the regulator, the SEC, to get the approval. It really felt like we worked at the same company, the kind of relationship we had with the New York Stock Exchange, with everyone working toward the same goal. And I think that's the kind of relationship someone needs with a vendor or a partner for ultimate success. So for me, peer collaboration is absolutely critical. All right, let's move on to the next slide, slide number 12, and the laser focus. Laser focus, I know that might be an overused phrase here, but certainly one that I think is important as you try to get a product to market. All energy has to be focused on getting the approval for the idea. And with the example for me with active semi-transparent ETFs, throughout this 3-year journey to get the product tested, to get the product approved, to get the product to market, I was really focused just on this in terms of R&D and development. Certainly, it was a 3-year process, but in the end, we know that the potential benefits out of this 3-year process could be significant in the way of revenue and profitability to our firm. I didn't focus on any other products at that time, but after we launched in September of 2020, that's when I began working on product adjacency research, where other products that have a lot of similarities to what we've done already that we could bring to market and continue with the theme that we've already brought to market. I also began immediately working on enhancements to the product. So product management never ends. And if there are tweaks that one can make to a product that's in market, then certainly one has to do that. So immediately in October of 2020, a month after we launched our product, again, I worked with the New York Stock Exchange, and we worked on an adjustment to the product approval that would allow our products to become more cost effective for the end investor that's buying this ETF, and also more tax efficient. So really pleased to get that approval as well in 2021. All right, so I've certainly told you a lot, and the laser focus for me, just to close out the thought here, was crucial throughout this whole process, so that the distraction for me, for my team, or for our company was not something that could have been an impediment. And in the end, what we were able to do with the laser focus of both us and the New York Stock Exchange is that both firms really became experts in this specific product area, where we gained reputational benefits, not only in the product area, but across other areas of our business, with a bit of a halo effect that was really helpful to the broader companies. So that is my example. That concludes the discussion. So next slide is just some disclosure information, the very last slide. But I really thank you for listening to this brief update on a startup mindset, on innovation, an example in the investment management area. I enjoyed telling the story, and certainly, as you know, through this system, you have chat functionality, and I'd love to see what questions are on your mind, and I look forward to answering those. So please enter your questions. Again, thank you for your attention, and my best for a great career for all of you.